Okay, from the top of page 1, class note 10, quick review. GDP, I want you to be very clear with his definition of GDP over those pages. The finished good, final good is included only. We exclude intermediate goods. Definition of, we have too much echo this morning. So the value of it at the market price, you can decompose market price of finished final product into all factor incomes. Keep this in mind. Because of this, GDP equals to GNI, which in turn equals to GDE, gross domestic expenditure. Then, if this is taken, GDP is taken as the most popular indicator of the societal well-being, people's well-being. This is not perfect, of course, as I told you. Even if you love, you prefer your breakfast prepared by your moms to McMuffin. Unfortunately, McMuffin is included in GDP, but breakfast fast by your mom isn't. So it's not perfect. So to come up with, to devise a better happiness index. In a sense, GDP is taken as a happiness index. So UNDP, United Nations Development Program, UNDP. Probably you have heard of the name UNDP, but there is such a thing as UNEP too. UNEP is, of course, United Nations Environment Program. Okay, so UNDP has devised HDI, Human Development Index, as a supposedly better alternative to GDP, but it never works simply because of it's very, very complex, very difficult to understand. So make things simple, try to, because people wouldn't understand. You make your complex stories, your theories, your argument. Don't make it complex. Try to make it as simple as possible. So Menkyu refers to special international efforts to come up with a better alternative. And then progress report is, I showed the book to you the other day, Measuring Our Lives. The name down below, Joseph Stiglitz, American economist who won Nobel Economics Prize. And then Amartya Sen, Indian American economist who won the Nobel Economics Prize too. Actually, people associate HDI, the creator of HDI, Human Demand Index, to this Amartya Sen. Amartya Sen is believed to the creator of the concept of HDI. That's for your reference. Okay, now don't use GNP anymore. So simply regard there is no such a thing as GNP. Only two things: GDP, GNI. GDP in terms of territory, domestic. GNI. Okay, in terms of nationality, people, because income accrues only to people, right? Any income accrues to a company whose income is it? Shareholders or capitalists in our term here. Okay, on the surface, looks companies seem to earn income, but that's their owners, right? Owners or shareholders in case of joint stock companies. In a closed economy, GDP should be identical to GNI. That's what I explained. GDP is nothing other than total sum of value added in a country in a year. Value added is nothing other than compensation for production factor services. Keep this in mind. And practically, it's actually technical definition is slightly different. GNI and GDP. Because of this, there's a slight difference between these two, but practically the numbers are pretty much the same. Korea's GDP is gap is less than 1%. GDP, GNI, okay, the gap is less than. Difference only comes from technical difference between technical definition of how you, because real world is very, very complicated, right? What to include in calculation or what to exclude calculation of GDP. That's because of these technical, very, very special technical factors, GDP and GNI is different, but practically numbers are the same. Okay, so there's no merit to discriminate GDP and GNI in terms of numbers, figures. Okay, triple equivalent in national income. In the Korean language, probably you have heard of this. 생산 국민소득 is exactly identical to 분배 국민소득, 지출 국민소득. 생산 is product, 분배 is income, 지출 is expenditure. Right? Understandable. Higon, are you with us? Okay. No wonder. Okay. Higon had a health check to be admitted to the army service the other day. 진짜 감사. Okay. Would it be okay to make this information public? Okay, so it doesn't offend you, does it? No, it doesn't offend. So that means he's growing. He's grown up. I don't know. He's still growing or grown. He's still growing, right? Yerin is still growing. Top of page 2. Composition of GDP. Okay, so one more time is your thought framework reference is always useful to sources, uses. What are the sources? What are the uses? And then, in general, sources should be the same as uses. That's useful. In any regard, that's useful. That's a useful approach. What are the sources? What are uses? Two of them normally should be equal. So to check whether you missed out anything, it's very useful. So here is that y plus m only sources available to any people in the world. Domestic production y, foreign production m. Okay, and then uses is that, so from the things from those sources you use in those categories, and C, household consumption, from household spending C, firm spending I, government spending G, and then foreigners spending of our goods X. Then, right, you understand that. Right? Sources should be the same as uses. Very simple. Then, turning around what we have, Y GDP, so supply side, Y GDP supply is very useful because as time goes by, today we will discuss Y. Okay. Then next week we will discuss C plus I plus G plus NX. So Y is supply side, right-hand equation is demand side, right? Understandable, okay? Supply, why is it? Production is supply. Production is supply. Why is one more time? I want you to keep this in mind all the time. Y itself stands for yield. Okay, yield. Yield means product. Yield has many meanings actually. When you drive a car, you have to give away to somebody else. That you have to yield. That's equal 양보. You see traffic signal. You see 양보. You see small road. You joining the big road, and then you have the obligation to give the rights of way to the other person from the coming to the main road. That's what you call yield, 양보. You have seen that, right? Something like a traffic signal, something like you see 양보. In English, you would see the traffic signal yield. In this case, yield means 양보. Give the rights of way. Rights of way, 통행권. It's useful to know too. Rights of way, 통행권. Who has the rights of way? normally the big road has the right way. So you come to this one. This is a small road. This is big road. Okay. Then you arrive at this point at the same time. Who has the right of way? This guy has the right of way. He goes first, he goes the way. That's what I call right of way. So this guy has to yield. That's 양보. So yield has many meaning, but in this particular case, yield is product. So one more time, left hand side. One more time, I want you to be very clear about this fact. Even if y should be equal to c plus a plus g, y represents product, supply side. We call aggregate supply. We'll come to that shortly. Eventually, aggregate supply. Left hand side, that's left. Right hand side is all about the demand, right? Demand. Your consumption, okay? Spending. So this is demand side or aggregate demand. Just like quantity supplied should be identical to quantity demanded, right? Aggregate supply should be equal to aggregate demand. Okay. Jingyung sleeps in just like a rat. Okay, so price level. So did Jian. You did so too. Nothing to be proud of. Okay, price level exists only in your conception, the average level of representative product. So in the world, there is no such a thing as a representative product, right? There is no. Conceptually, you can assume this may be represent Korean economy, Malaysian economy, Latvian economy, or Mongolian economy, US economy. But it doesn't exist. There is no such a thing as representative product in the world, right? Okay, price index is a basket of goods and services. Then price index you attach almost by definition. Index of the beginning year is 100. Okay? 100 means 100% or 1.00 unit. So very often we think things in terms of unit price, marginal price is unit price, average price is unit, marginal cost is unit, okay, speed is unit. Okay, driving speed, I drove 60 kilometers per hour. Just per hour per unit, right? Because of this, always we think of things, especially we compare things, Young versus Younghyun. So per hour product is productivity, right? When he say who is better students, we mean in terms of productivity, right? Right? So then productivity is measured. Who read fast? Who reads fast? Younghyun or Younghyun? Then the measurement is that, remember, okay, thick, very, very long novel, gone with the wind. Like there's just thousands of pages, right? Let's assume it's 3,000 pages. 바람과 함께 사라지다. Gone with wind. So she finishes reading it 5 hours, while Younghyun finishes it 3 hours. Who reads fast? Younghyun, right? How do you know reading speed? You calculate per hour how many pages. You think always in this way. So always economics is my statement is too advanced for you, but economics is all about relative things. So relative things is in comparison to Jae-yoon versus Chang-yeon, things like that, right? Who's told is saying is that Hyunji is charming? Is Hyunji charming? 정아, what did you say? Is she charming? Yes, she is, but in comparison to Han Hyo-ju, is he charming? In comparison to Park Ji-sun, is he charming? You say yes, right? So that's all about, actually, economics, or human life is all about relative things in comparison to, right? Who's good, bad, tall, small, anything, beautiful, ugly, everything is relative, right? So comparing, number-wise, always you not always, but often you calculate per unit thing, per unit. Yeah. Speed, anything. So because of this index is 100, that's the reason. Okay. So to calculate the comparison years index, then I want you to play with these tables. If you have any trouble following table 2 or table 1, you come to me. It's not that difficult to understand. Try to make the calculation. Sometimes the rate is useful. 가중치 in the Korean language. So price index is that you say consumption basket. Not everything is the same, right? Difference. So for example, let me give you a simple example. So electricity is critical, right? Every day. In any country, the price of utility, electricity, should be included in, because everybody consumes the electricity, right? In one uses or in one use or another, right? It's indispensable. Tap water, same story. Tap water is that you see 상수도, you call tap water, from the water flowing from a faucet, you call tap water. Tap water. So every household, your household consumes electricity, right? Okay. Then water too, tap water too. So over a year, the price of electricity went up 10%. Okay. Then price of tap water went up 10%. Case number. Okay. So in 1 year, over 1 year, particularly case 1, okay, price of electricity went up 10%. The other case, everything else being equal, only tap water price went up 10%. In which case, the damage is bigger. 10% of, okay, each one, electricity price goes up by 10%. Tap water price goes up by 10%. So which is more burdensome to you? Electricity or tap water? Absolutely electricity, right? Typically, someone, how much electricity do you, what is the average electricity bill to your home? You don't have any idea, because she has never helped her mom. Okay. Normally, it's much bigger, right? Water is almost for free. Okay, so average household, if this tap water is let's say 5,000 won, you won't even consume this much money, average household. But it's something like that. Electricity, something like 35,000, 7 times as big. Then, both cases, I say 10% increase, which is the great impact on you. Electricity, right? So that's what I call weight. Even if this one is that for most Korean firms, maybe now the largest percentage of spending maybe educational charge. I'm not sure, but anyway. So simply, for example, education is 10%, and then food and all the eating things, let's say 5% of your household income. So in each case, which is more effect on your living standards? Case 1, 10% increasing in education fee, and 10% increase in foods, which is education, of course. That's what I call weight. So constructing a consumption basket, always you have to think of the weight, not just number of items or kinds of items. Okay, the base year. This is at least as for the Korean government changes base year. Korea's base year once every 5 years. Okay, inflation rate, this one. Then percentage change, keep this in mind. Percentage change is this one. Price base year, price current year, price base year. This is change, right? Delta is nothing other than change. And the delta P over itself is percentage change. We use this concept very, very often in economic discussions. Okay, now we are stepping into new chapters, growth economics. Okay, as I told you a moment ago, two big concerns for the government or people, citizens in general. Number one, long-run growth. Number two, short-run stability. Two different things, right? Both are important. Everything else being equal, you would prefer stable environment, right? Stable environment, predictable environment. Stability is normally associated with predictability, right? Stable environment is very predictable, right? Yerin's mind is normally stable, but Kyungwa's mind is volatile. So I'm pretty sure Yerin will come to class Wednesday, but in her case, I don't have any idea what she would do. Of course, that's job. Yeah, but her mind is stable. 성형's mind is stable, but Jiyeon's mind is not stable. It's very highly predictable, right? What 성형 is going to do tomorrow, highly predictable. But Jiyeon, we have no idea. Is that clear? So stability is the flip side of predictability. In your life, normally you prefer predictability because without predictability, you cannot make any plan. Yeah. So okay. So it's normally predictability. Two key concerns in economic discussion, especially macroeconomic discussions. One is growth, the other one stability. Okay, so to give you more idea regarding this, stability is all about aggregate supply. Why? Why? No. Growth is why. And then the stability is all about demand side, C plus I plus G. Simply because demand is more volatile, right? Why is demand volatile? How do we know that? This is very simple. Okay? Stock market crashes, what happens? You will increase or decrease spending. Decrease spending, right? So real estate price bubble bursts. You will decrease spending. You will decrease spending, right? And then Kim Jong-un does something unusual. You will decrease spending. You will decrease spending, right? So volatile. But it's a matter of production capacity, right? You cannot increase production capacity overnight. It takes very, very long time. So this supply is a matter of growth, while demand is a matter of stability. Okay, growth rate is very useful to note. One price. He says that the magic of compounding Compounding in the Korean language you call 복리계산. Compounding. So now we almost never use 달리. In the past, simple growth, but now when you are given any rate variable, inflation rate, growth rate, that's rate variable. Rate is over time change equal rate. So then it's always compounding. It never talks in terms of simple growth, something like this. You grow 10% a year. The most typical example is the per annum for a year. Annum is Latin word per year. So Korea, people sometimes use Chinese characters, right? To sound professional or sound pedantic. 있어 보이기 위해서. Just like English people do that, 있어 보이기 위해서. Sometimes from time to time they use Latin words. So this is ceteris paribus, right? Everything else being equal, ceteris paribus. That's Latin too. So anyway, don't forget this one, PA. Rate variable, almost always you say annual rate. Growth rate, interest rate, inflation rate, everything is almost always annual, per annual rate. So you grow 7% per year, per annum. Then how big will you be in 10 years? Will you be 70% bigger? Wrong, you are wrong, right? 1 plus 0.07 to the power of 10. This is 2. It will become double as big. So 7 is the number. Make it double. 10 years make double. So this is exactly what Korean government took as its goal of growth. First 5 years economic development plan. Because Korea, what years were covered in the first 5 years? First, Korea is the first 5-year economic development plan. What years this plan covered? What years? 1962 through 66. This was the first year. At the first year, Korean government explicitly targeted 7% growth. 현지, were you born in this year? No? Okay. So just for your fun, this is for your fun. I refers to his story, page 550. So he says, what says he says there? The rule of 70. Okay, following page. Today, so all stories. No, I think only last moment we will have graphs, but all stories to make your life easier today. 현지, do you like grapes? Yes? Oh, she likes grapes. Ivan, do you like grapes? Kind of. Okay. 경화 hates, right? Okay, page 3. GDP versus per capita GDP. So, as a happiness index, to be precise, okay, happiness index is not GDP, but per capita GDP. Per capita GDP is another Latin. Per capita is head. Your head. Head is capita. So in the Korean language, 두당, 머리당. 난 마리당, 머리당. Capita is 머리, per head. So per capita GDP So it's an index of quality of life, standards of living. Quality of life standards are pretty much the same thing. Korean language quality of life equals 삶의 질. Okay, and then standards of living, 생활 수준. Yeah, something like that. 생활 수준. Okay. GDP growth is production function for the whole economy. It depends on production function. We'll come to that shortly. Production function is a function which represents the production capacity of a country or a firm or a household or one person. A person production function 생산함수 in the Korean language. I'll give you an example later. Okay. So GDP growth is that we have to define production function for the whole economy, how it grows. This is the elevation. Okay, enhancement. Elevation is the same as enhancement. Elevator. You go up, going up. Elevator. Enhancement, going up. Elevation of per capita GDP. Okay, enhancement of labor productivity. What it is? Yeah, you understand. So, in a word, per capita GDP, growth in per capita GDP is a matter of enhancement of labor productivity, 노동 생산성. That's very simple. Remember, per capita GDP is nothing other than population Y, right? Population Y. Just the definition of per capita GDP, right? Okay. Then this is LY PL, right? There's no magic, very simple. Because you simply L, same story. This one, right? And think in this way, it gives you more clear policy guidelines to you. Policy implicated this. L, what is L? Okay. To increase, there are two ways, right? To increase this one, actually, to be precise. One is, what do we call this? To increase, this goes up to make this bigger. Way number one, to make it bigger. Approach number one, approach number two, to make this bigger, right? Okay. Then how can you do this? What do we call this? That's nothing other than labor productivity, average labor productivity. Okay? Average labor, 평균 생산성, average labor. We'll come to that shortly. This is anyway, you can understandable, right? Productivity is the per person product, is productivity, right? So, per person product is productivity. Y over L. L, of course, L is workers. Okay. Then P, L over P. What would we call that? Total population. Does everyone in Korea work? No. You are not working. You are excluded from L. You are not workforce. Full-time students are excluded from workforce. You are not working. You are not L. You belong to P. Do you belong to P? Do you belong to L? Taejun, do you belong to P? Korean population? Are you Korean? He belongs to Korean population, right? Do you work? No, he's not the part of L. So from this one, that's what I call L over P. Okay, workforce participation rate. Workforce participation rate. That's in the Korean language. 참여율? Something 참여율. I don't recall precisely. So, but it's not okay. It's not easy to make housewives work or students work. It's not that easy, right? So, in general, this is regarded to be very, very stable. Okay? It keeps, if ever, it changes very, very slowly. So, if we assume this is constant, the answer is right. The only way to increase this one. right? So roughly saying this statement is correct. Okay, Ichang, do you understand? This roughly saying, okay, per capita GDP is dependent on labor productivity. Not perfect, but roughly saying is the rough truth is 60% truth is enough for your life. 60% truth. Don't try to be perfect. Okay? Don't look for perfect. For anyone, don't try to be perfect. I just read an article from somewhere. Also, try to be average. That's the right way to go. Okay, but you may not be convinced if I say try to be average, but you may have some idea what I mean by when I say don't try to be perfect. One thing you have to avoid is becoming a perfectionist. I'm not just joking. Don't try to be a perfectionist. You don't try to be perfect in anything. Just focus on your key point. That's the key, actually. Okay, perfect. To be perfect, perfectly looking, to try to be looking perfect, you have to spend all the hours before the mirror. So my hair should be straight and rightly colored in this way, eyebrow this way, lipstick. You have to spend all the day before. Just she ultra does. I know she spends a third of her time before the mirror. Don't do that. Okay? Then because your time is limited, right? Your energy is limited. Don't try to be perfect. Okay? Perfection is the enemy of performance. I'm very serious. Okay? So report writing, don't try to write a report perfect. Okay? Because you cannot do everything perfect, right? Is it clear? There is a story regarding a lawyer. Lawyer is that she was perfect at the law school. She got A+ from report. Then in the real work, she tried to perfect contracts at the law firm. Then it takes forever, right? Think about a lawyer working at a law firm. She spends many hours writing a contract. Then the client is waiting for, okay, and the customer is dying. Then what good would it be? She comes up, okay, a perfect report belatedly. Understandable? Okay. So focus on the key thing. The content is the key. When you're writing a contract, okay, the content is the key. Not the small details. That's negligible. Okay. So as I say, the mainstream is enough. 6% truth is good. Normally good enough for anyone. Okay, then this one, economic growth around the world. Okay, so this is very general knowledge. I refer to page this one. He says that Africa has been stagnant, not quite, has been, but not now. Listen, over the past decade, Africa is not Africa anymore. Just useful to know. Many countries in Africa. When you say Africa, you don't mean Mediterranean area, 지중해 연안. You don't mean that. When you say Africa, it's always SS, Sub-Saharan Africa. Saharan Africa. 지중해 연안 we call MENA. Okay, you know these two terms too. MENA, make a guess. MENA, 지중해 연안. I said MENA. Yeah, Middle East and North Africa. MENA is a term. Okay, that's pretty much same story. Middle East and North Africa. So you call MENA. as opposed to SSA, Sub-Saharan Africa. This is really Africa. Normally you say Africa, we mean this one, not that one. Totally different species. Okay, so Sub-Saharan, Super-Saharan, totally different story. Sahara. The thing is that he's a little bit outdated. Now next, maybe I'm not sure. Next edition he may revise this statement. Sub-Saharan is not statement anymore. Growth economics is something like 6%, 7%, like that. So even Rwanda, Kenya, even Angola, they are growing pretty fast these days. So McKinsey made a special report on this regard. Lions on the move. Okay. So Korea, Asia is populated by which animals? Lions or tigers? Tigers, you say Asian tigers. Okay. And Africa is populated by tigers or lions? Lions. So when you say lions, you mean African countries. So dragon is which country? Okay. Elephant. India. Okay, so it's useful. Lion sometimes means African countries. Then for your reference, Korea GDP growth, what you call development year, 개발연대, and those years, 62, 96, average growth rate is a little over 8% per annum. That's a great achievement. Maybe the greatest achievement before China. China is then problem with you. That's good news for you Koreans, and bad news for you Koreans is that right now growth potential is something like 3.5%. Growth potential means trend, long-term trend. Some year is ups and downs, economy ups and downs, but in trend is 3% for is maybe too low for you. Then in comparison to Korea, Chinese growth over these particular 30 years, 9.8% PA. Historically, US GDP has grown 3% per annum, similar to Korea's growth. Okay. And then per capita GDP is just lower than that, of course. What makes this difference? US GDP has grown approximately 3% per annum, but per capita GDP has grown 2.5% at maximum. What makes the difference? Population growth. This population growth there too. So that's unique to America. This is not applicable to Korea or France. Latvia, I don't know. Does population grow in your country? Stagnant. So most advanced countries, except for United States, population is stagnant, doesn't grow. US is very special. Number one, is very open to, relatively open to immigration. Number two, high fertility. Right now, did you know that majority has become minority in America? What that means, American majority is white people. White people has become minority now. Less than 50% of the population is. So the minorities, not minority, minorities, lots of different ethnicities. But anyway, all in all, white population is not smaller than 50% of US population. Then, as you understand, Hispanics and then blacks give birth to many children, highly fertile. But white people is not fertile, but minorities are in general very fertile. You go Philippines, which is a Catholic country, is a dozen siblings are normal. You go Philippines, I'm very serious. Catholic country is anti-contraception or abortion is prohibited according to Catholic tradition. So anyway, okay, I want you to take a serious issue for you. So Korea's growth rate is 3%, while American growth potential is 3%. Then it will take forever for Korea to catch up America. You can calculate that, but calculation is a little bit difficult. I'm not going to give this to you as a spot assignment. I'm not going to give this to you. Okay. So near the bottom of page 3, labor productivity, 노동 생산성, definition, product per person hour, the metric, yardstick of the measurement unit of labor is person hour in C, Korean language. I explained this before. So average labor productivity, this one, Y over L. And then what would be, fill the blank, what would be the marginal product of labor? Delta, Y delta. One less unit addition. You keep adding people from one less unit labor and the additional this one. Okay, the concept. Then this one. The question is that let's discuss this. Previously, the happiness index depends largely on labor productivity. This one. P, this one more time, this is nothing other than per capita GDP. Per capita GDP is largely defined by L. This is this one. Labor productivity. Okay, multiplied by P over L. Here, my question is how to improve Y over L. Think about that. How to improve Y over L? Education. Okay, what else? Motivation, higher motivation, right? Right leadership. What else? What else? Give him more machines. Capital, more capital. Then, what else do we have? Natural resources per hour. I think this one. So, let's go one by one. Top of page 4. Physical capital per worker. This is what we mean. L over K. This is what we call 자본 장비, or sometimes we call capital equipment ratio. So give her more machine. Then, as Sang-Hyun said, education, human capital per worker. Physical capital, we call human capital is training, education and training, we call human capital. Human capital. We'll come to that in a shortly. So, education and training is to increase human capital. In a sense, quality of labor. Quantity of labor is L. Okay? Quantity of labor is L, but quality of labor is H. For example, here you have 3 workers, Kyunghwa and Yerin and Mingyang. Back there are 2 workers only there. The row 5 workers there. So 정아, 현지, 영현, 용경, 성철, 5 workers. Okay. Then each of 1당 3. Okay. So one is on this firm, at this firm, at this economy, each worker is 3 times as productive as the poor country over there. Okay. What is the effective labor here? 9, right? Oh, back there. 5. Is that clear? Is it clear? So human capital, this is the meaning of human capital. So productivity, how can you make them productive? By educating them more. So education and training. Normally we say education and training. 교육 훈련. Education is to let them know something new. The training is make them skillful, more skillful. That's training. So education, training. Okay, so that's what I call human capital. Is that clear? By giving them more physical capital, giving them more human capital, either way. Okay. Then giving them more natural resources. This is, in general, is not available to us. Then finally, technological knowledge. Okay. The new technological, this one, these two things, just for your reference, it's useful to remember. Ford Model T, early 1910, okay, Ford was the first mass-produced car was we call Model T. Model T, okay, Model T is very well known, or the symbol of mass production. That's the first mass-produced product of all in the world through assembly line, conveyor belt assembly line was first introduced by the name Henry Ford. These names, all names you used to remember. Henry Ford. Henry Ford was the creator of the Ford Motor Company these days. So some people say Henry Ford was the inventor of automobile as it is today. To be precise, he's the first person who commercialized. So his vision was one car to every household in America. The only way to do that is produce it cheaper. So how to make it cheaper? Economy of scale through standardization. So standardization. Okay, very famous saying by Henry Ford is that, listen carefully, you can have, you mean my customers, okay, my dear customers, you can have any color of your choice as long as it is black. This is very famous saying by this paradoxical thing. So that means, oh, color is black, shape is all the same. Initially, he did. By doing that, you can save money through economy of scale. Is that clear? Yeah, one more time, very useful. You can have any color you wish as long as it is black. Black color, is there any difference? Slightly black? Okay, and the second story is that Coca-Cola's recipe is the most famous industrial secret. The formula Coca-Cola, So Coca-Cola was created late 19th century, sometime 18, I'm not sure, 70, 80, 18, around that time. It was based in Atlanta, Georgia. So anyway, it's the most typical industrial secret is Coca-Cola's recipe. Here we go, you have production function. Okay, this is for more general discussion. Understand what I mean? He refers to this one. Production function is, one more time, long-term production capacity of an economy. Okay, my question is that, okay, ultra. Okay, can an economy produce products more than its production capacity on a consistent basis? You don't understand my question, right? You don't. It's not okay. You don't have the answer to my question, but she doesn't understand my question in the first place. So, can you produce? Okay, can you produce more than your production capacity on a consistent basis? A single day you can do that. You can work very, very hard and overtime, but can you do that forever? No, you cannot do that. So, on a consistent basis, no country can produce more than its production capacity. So long-term goal, long-term task should be how to increase or increase okay, production capacity. That's the key. So how to do that? You have to analyze production function. And this is the first place you see this equation. And then You will see this equation from time to time before graduation. Is there? So actually this production fraction is the same for a firm or a country. A firm normally production function is a Q equal production quantity, right? You can define in the same LKH. Okay, so somehow many economists use this formula. Okay, so I'm going to explain this equation one more time. If this formula is applied to a country, the denomination is Y. If this is to represent a company, denomination is Q, production quantity. As for the whole economy, remember Y is GDP, gross domestic product, total sum of domestic product. In individual forms, total sum is GDP, nothing other than that. So, in principle, two of them should be equal. What I mean is that production function for individual firms, okay, should be equal to production function to the whole economy, because whole economy's product is nothing other than total sum of individual firms' products. Is that clear to you? Okay, Byung-hyun, is it clear? He knew that from the beginning, Byung-hyun. Okay. So your interpretation is this. Alpha is total factor productivity. In this regard, I want you to pay attention to that. In the past, when you said productivity, 생산성, it almost always meant labor productivity. But these days, when you say productivity, more often than that, it means total factor productivity. Okay. Why this is important? I'll come to that shortly. Why this is important? Labor productivity is important, but not as critical as TFP, because everything is related to what? Economic discussion is related to what? Maximization of your well-being, right? Your well-being, my well-being, his well-being, how you will because of this. So that's all about productivity. So then think in the past you used to say that to increase labor productivity, give it more machine. But machine is another resource, right? Labor is a resource, machine is another resource, right? When machine is not unlimited. Another problem is we'll come to that. So within given number of L, you keep more machine. So what is applied to, what law is applied to us? With given number of labor, you keep giving him machines. What happens to you? Diminishing marginal labor, no, capital product. Okay, we'll come to that shortly. So previously in the past, we capitalize our economy, will increase GDP, per capita GDP. GDP itself is not, I shouldn't say meaningless, but it's less meaningful. But per capita GDP is the key, right? All these. Because per capita GDP is the real happiness index for any country. So how to increase per capita GDP? Keeping more machine. But keeping more machine doesn't come for free. Because machine is another resources, right? So real question is that from given resources, how to increase productivity, right? How to increase happiness level? That's the real question. So because of this, these days, so probably more often than not, people's interest is in how to increase overall productivity. Overall productivity. Take everything into all resources into consideration. How to increase? That's technological development, things like that. Right? That's a real question to ask for anyone these days. So now this one, TFP, 정요소 생산성 in the Korean language. Total factor productivity has become most people's concern or interest. Okay. Alpha denotes total factor productivity, 총요소 생산성. L is labor, K is labor, H is human capital. This is resources too. Because labor is a resource, right? A resource. Capital is a resource. Why human capital is a resource? You have money, you can educate the people very relatively easily. So you call human capital. Natural resources of little importance these days. Okay. The big difference is that now, why this is so important? I'll discuss it. Let's discuss great detail. Now, page this one. Page this is okay. This is this one. Okay. So labor increases. Labor increases that you hire more and more people. Why? Population increases. This looks like this one. Why? At your firm, which is easier to think. No, not Y0. I'm sorry. It's L1, L2. You hire more people, you will produce more, right? But the thing is that per unit output increases, decreases. Okay, so, and you hire here. So you here increase 1. Okay, delta L, delta Y. Here, P2, 1, delta L, delta Y. This is L2. This one, delta L, delta Y, L1. Which is bigger? This is bigger, right? So as you hire more and more people, marginal labor productivity declines, right? Because of what? Diminishing marginal product. So diminishing, this is MPL. Law of diminishing MPL. Why this is diminishing? You know that, right? Hire, which would you hire? Who would you hire first? She automatically, Yerin automatically points. And the congestion, right? To think because of this one. Okay. Understandable. As it declines. And then from this one, what would stand for average? Remember, this is we are concerned about this, right? This is in a sense this determines per capita GDP. That's our real concern, right? Real interest, per capita GDP. So this point L1, what would be the this one per capita GDP or per worker output? This is Y1, right? L1, Y1. And this is it. This represents per capita, no, average GDP. Is that clear to you? Joe, is that clear to you? Okay. So if L2, what is this one? 현정, if L2, what is this one? L2, what is this? L1, Y1, L2, what? Okay, Y2. Jerry knows that, right? In this case, what is the average GDP? This one, right? The slope, which is bigger. Is it clear? Slope from this is, remember, this is L2. If you hire L2, Y2, what is the average labor productivity? That's the definition. Y2, L2. This is easy, right? This angle represents that. Is it clear? So from this one, as you understand, because marginal product of labor decreases, okay, average labor productivity decreases as well. It's clear. Okay. So from this one, you can understand this is very average cost, right? You are familiar with this because we discussed this in great detail in the first half of this course. Okay. So this goes up, goes down. Average cost goes up, right? Of course, this is normally we assume we are beyond this is minimum efficiency scale. So we assume this scale, then this is it goes up. Average income L goes up from this one. What do you see? Actually, same story, mirror image. So L increases, average income goes up, goes down. From here, goes down. Is it clear? So as average productivity goes up, just mirror image this one. One goes up, goes down. Okay, so understandable, I think. So now let's get back to the bottom of page 4. So diminishing returns as limit to growth. Limit to growth is the not it becomes zero, but stalls. Economy stalls like this. It gets flatter and flatter, right? It approaches. That's one more time. Asymptotic. I don't know. I cannot spell that. 점근선, Korean language. 점근선. 점번, 점점점점 근접 점근선. Top them 점점점점 근 asymptotic English. Because I can't spell it. I would write it. So anyway, approaches but natural. Putting it differently, economy stalls. We say in that way, growth rate is very small. 0.5% annual growth, something like that. But that's not we are satisfied with, right? Would you be satisfied with 1% annual growth? Probably not, right? That's what you cannot avoid there. So, this one. Now, okay, let's come back this at the last moment. Okay. This one. Okay. So, two ways to approach this one. Alpha, okay, y equal, let's do R, alpha. Let's remove this one. Assuming, simply, let's assuming, okay, LKHN. So, pretty much same story here. From this, what we understood is that everything else being equal, L goes up, L increases. What else? What happens? Economy stalls, right? Then you can see the same situation. Given L, you see this angle is K. Exactly same result here. Well, same graph is of course different, but very similar. What I mean is that Y. This is L. This one, right? The problem is that is concave to the origin is the problem, the source of problem, right? Source of problem is that problem means a stalling economy. It's very, very slowly growing economy. The economy grows in any case, but grows that's something like half a point growth. Nobody would be satisfied with that. It grows actually, but grows too slowly. That's what it means, stalling on the economy. So this is, as long as this is concave, it's like this one, like flatten out, right? Increasing, but very slowly increasing. This is L, same story, K. Then Y, same story, this one. Okay. Is it clear? Then alpha is that, so you keep doing something like that through this one. You can get out of, the only way to can get out this stalling economy is through increase in alpha. Alpha is total factor productivity. And to be more specific, let's go step by step. The following page, top of 5, he refers to level up level effect. It says the higher level effect is there. What this means is there. Once again, from this equation, y equal alpha f l k h n. Okay. In any case, the key point is per capita GDP, right? Per capita GDP. Then your answer was, so how to increase per capita GDP? You said, what did you say? Give him more machine, right? So as L increases, this one. So this is machine level K1. You keep in machine, this one. Okay. Then you give him more machine. So in which case will you be more productive? More machine, right? It's K2. Does anyone real K2? Is that K2? Okay. My was silly joke. My joke is always silly. Okay. Why? Remember, always our interest is per capita GDP finally. So right now this is L. Okay. So to explain level effect. So you have machine nationalized K is K1. With more machine, you will become double the. Then this will become you double. K2, double again. It gets closer and closer, right? K4, double again. Very much something like this. Very close. This is because remember diminishing marginal thing, something like this. K1 double, K4 it's not double. It cannot double. What I mean is that this L1, K1. Let's say this is K 100 machines. I give you 200 machines L. This is will this be double? Y1. This will be double. It will double. Oh, let's start one by one. Okay. Always our concern is to maximize this one, L over Y. Is that clear? Because this defines per capita GDP. When the per capita, we take per capita GDP as our common happiness index. So everyone is interested in to maximize. Then one more time, this is highly associated with this course PY. Our real goal is this one, but we may take this as proxy of this one because this goes up too. So let's focus on this one. Then here we understood that L over K is the average, is this curve. Slope is nothing other than per capita GDP or average labor productivity. Is that clear? So actually the point here, the slope is the key. Okay, initially we have 100 machines, K1, K100. Something like this, right? Eventually it stalls right here. Right? Initially it grows this one, but it's caused by, okay, as you increase employment, that means as economy expands, labor productivity declines. Average labor productivity declines because of the low marginal, diminishing marginal product. Is it clear? Then now somebody comes to you. Oh, what if we give each one 200 machines? Then you will produce more because you give more machines to each and every. Then this will be something like this one, right? Then the case is there. This is, let's say this is here, Y1. This is Y2, Y2. Y2 is 2Y1 here. Okay, you give more machine. You give them more machine. Okay, which course will it take? here, you will become any point, anyone you give more machine, right? Each one becomes more productive. This will be here, right? My question is that this course will pass here, here, there. Below this one, right? Given, right? That's clear to you because of any. Yeah. Okay. So K 200, K 400, K 300. Okay. So anyway, 400. It's okay. 400. Like this one. Actually, 300. It's easier to understand, right? K 300. It's smaller and smaller, closer and closer, right? Because of diminishing marginal product of capital. So understandable. So from you can understand is that in this area means the area the economy stalls. Stalls means the growth rate is let's say 1% smaller than 1%. It's still growing, but we are not satisfied with that. Then the thing is that if give more machines, we can goes up, right? Level goes up. Here. Okay. Here. This is average labor productivity, right? Then this is this one. So which is preferable? With K100, K200. Absolutely K200 is preferable, right? But problem K200, this is anyway those stores here. You give them more income, it's stores. 300 is here. It's stores there. Is it clear? So this is what we call, we cannot avoid leveling up flattening out effect eventually. So we'll go higher income level, but so we cannot avoid stalling there. This is what we call leveling up. Level up, but giving more machine before previously you grow a lower level, let's say $10,000. $10,000 growth rate is only 1%. And give him more machine, it may jack up like $15,000 and the store is there too. No, it's not growing. So that's what I call level effect. But the real thing is that somehow you have to come up with it's steadily growing income. That's only through possible. Okay, this is alpha. You can do that by improving alpha. You can expect continuous. For example, Korea is Korea a developed or developing country? Developed. So are you satisfied with the current situation? How many of you are say Korea is a developed country? That means you are pretty much satisfied with the current living standard. If you say, please raise your hand. TJ? Are you pretty much satisfied with, then okay, that's okay. So then in that case, 2% is okay. So you will be satisfied with 2% annual income, but maybe Sumin may not be satisfied with that. Sumin may want to see still like at least 4% annual growth. To see that, the only way is this one. Is it clear? So this is your job. For Korea, so development year 1962, 1996. This was Korea's development year. Why do we call that? Korea had seven consecutive 5-year economic development plans. 제7차 5개년 경제개발 계획 was the last. Now no development plan anymore. So development plan, think about it. What is the economic development plan by the government? Government designs, makes the plans, right? So which which industry to focus on type of things. So how to increase capital for the whole economy. So that's kind of planned economy. China is still, is anyone from China? Mongolia is, do you have a 5-year economic development plan? Nothing like it. And then means Mongolia is a developing country right now. Okay. So now, seemingly, Korea graduated from developing era here. So in that sense, you may think Korea is a developed country. But okay, so are you satisfied with this? That's income, per capita income right now. Donggyun, are you satisfied with $20,000 income? 이건 우석. Would you like to have some more? Okay, more means something like American 50K. To become, of course, this grows. Don't worry. This grows, but 3% is not enough. Why is 3% is not enough? America, as a developed country, grows at 3%. Korea, as a still, I don't know, somehow at like low level. Let's avoid developing or developed. Okay, much less affluent Korea is. Then U.S. grows. Korea grows 35%. Okay. It will take forever to catch up United States. So to become United States is the GDP something like that. Korea is something like no, let's say 20K. It takes forever to catch up. Okay. So here, in a sense, here, Korea is here, US is here, because of somehow thanks to is K, that's equivalent to K 1,000. US is here, Korea is here. Okay. So both cases is a flattening out area here. Well, flattening out, Korea cannot catch up. So only way Korea speed up. This is the only way to catch up the United States. Is that clear? Is the concept clear? To be more precise, you learn this about this. You take macroeconomics. Okay. So now let's get back to here. Same story. The same story means is the capital is a capital. So remember, this was Y. This is L. Either whether this is L, K, H, N, same story. Right? So just keep adding L, stores. Keep adding K, stores. Keep adding H, stores. Keep adding N. This is impossible, right? There's no way to increase land to you, right? Korea land. It's not perfectly impossible, but that's partly possible because you can improve the land. Put lands in different uses, right? The mountain, you demolish the mountain and turn it into arable lands. You can do that, or sometimes you can. Korea by reclamation merit. It's useful to remember to reclaim. You say in this way, we reclaim the land from the ocean. Originally, that was ours. Okay, the land, the bottom of the sea. Originally, there was a land. So we say we reclaim land from the ocean. So reclaim means 매립하다. Korean language. Reclamation, 매립. So we have Korea. Real story. What is the size of Korean territory? South Korean territory. Any idea? 현정? 다은? You're 다은, right? Any idea? 박? 민정? How big is Korean territory? Small? 서영? What's the size of South Korea? 성현? No, rough number is enough. Give me any number. Okay.
Like size of Indiana.
No, Korea. Size of Indiana. Okay. I told you, right? American states, Korean territory size is the closest to the state of India, Indiana, America. Very similar. Indiana is a little smaller than Korean territory. But anyway, you say, okay, K here. 100,000 square kilometers. Just as a common sense, keep this in your mind. In my days, when I was as young as you, we used to say Korea's official number was there, less than South Korea. How could we could increase the size of Korea? Through reclamation. That's the answer. Reclamation is everywhere you go, especially you go to Incheon, city of Incheon, you see. Okay, that's insignificant anyway. So here again, okay, Korea, America, US. Okay. Korea, US full employment. L cannot increase. In Korea, L increases or decreases. Soon to decrease. Okay? Not it decreases yet, but soon to decrease because, as you understand, Korea's maybe single most serious problem in Korea is the low fertility rate. Is because pretty soon the L will decrease Korea. With decreasing L, keep adding K. So Korea is something like stalls. US is stalls here. Stalling here, stalling here. US stalls in higher rate here. Okay. So Korea, the only way to get out of this, in Korea, getting out of this is not the actual issue. To catch up, United States real issue, right? For the only way to catch Korea is this one. This one. This is possible only through alpha. So improvement. That's your job. Why do I say that? Developing two y equal alpha k f. Okay. In general, Mongolia same story, China same story, Malaysia same story. Stage number one, you rely on increase in input. You hire, create new jobs. You bring people from rural side to urban, then let them work more hours and things like that. That's what I call development. Initial development growth is through increased input. But later on, Korea, because this means actually this is a symbol of Korea has graduated from had graduated from the developing stage around this year. Okay? The government ended, okay, closed its practice of making stopped. That's one thing. And secondly, in this year, Korea became a member of OECD. OECD is a rich country club, a rich nations club. So this symbolizes Korea graduated from this one. This is leveling up. And we have to now rely on this one. Okay. So US growth is believed to be rely on not this one, but something like this, close to this one. Okay, that's your job. Okay, because you are fading in generation, while I'm fading out generation. So no, what happens? I don't care. Okay. What happens to Kyungwa's generation, Yoongyung's generation? I cannot care because I'll be away. Okay, now getting back to Tower 5. This is final page today. Okay, so next Wednesday we'll discuss saving and investment. So human capital, education and training, and the health and nutrition. This one, as I implied to you before, it is useful to remember. When you say human resources, in this case, which section had richer human resources? This section and that section. This section, right? How do you know that? This one, HR is defined by LH. Number of people, average level of productivity, okay, competency. Competency is better word than productivity. Productivity is the outcome. Competency is potential. How well you work is this. So keep this in mind one more time. To increase human resource at your firm, number one, hire more people. Number two, educate them better. Is that clear? It's two ways to increase. Okay. Natural resources limited to growth, ever-growing population, it's not possible because people don't like to then. As you understand, as people get richer, fertility rate gets smaller. That's universal, everywhere. One more time, richer, okay, lower fertility rate. That's everywhere. Okay, so population growth, dismal science by Thomas Malthus is the Thomas Malthus was very pessimistic. You know that, right? Dismal is gloomy. So ever since, because Thomas Malthus as a socialist, sociologist as well as philosopher, and at that time everyone is right. So ambidextrous. They were all at the time economist, philosopher, sociologist. Malthus was one of them, and as an economist, he predicted very, very gloomy prospect for the future. So economy is to make pessimistic prediction. So economics became dismal science. Did you know that? One more time, simply put, largely because of Thomas Malthus, economy, the nickname for economics has become dismal science, gloomy science. Okay. Then didn't come to be true in any case. Case study this one, and the Malthusian story didn't prove to be true. Somehow, human beings are ingenious enough to come up with new ideas. So, simply put, okay, and in the past, people, okay, very worried about running out of copper. But right now, copper is almost no use, right? Copper is very abundant because in the past, as you think, all the cables were made of copper, right? But these days, almost never use copper as any cable, right? Did you understand? So human beings have been successful in coming up better idea, more productive idea, no matter what. So in fossil fuels, don't worry. Yes, we will solve in one way or another the fossil fuel. Fossil fuel itself is limited, absolutely limited. So crude oil will run out, the globe will run out of crude oil as it is right now pretty soon, but don't worry because we will have alternatives, much better alternatives. That's what story is told here. Huh? Okay, so all ill-founded concerns, all concerns didn't come out to be true. Okay. Then the population doesn't matter. Population is actually a strong point. Populous nation is a strong point. So in this regard, China is the most optimistic country because most populous country. Because short story is given there. Physical capital or workforce, as we discussed, subject to diminishing returns. Knowledge, we have what they call synergy effect. Two of them, Kyung-hwa and Yerin and Ming-yeon, three of them working together. 1 plus 1 plus 1 is bigger than 3. Because they can exchange ideas and then they come out just much bigger than total sum of 3 individual ideas. That's what we call network effect or synergy effect of knowledge. So now, okay, in most countries, we rely more on knowledge capital than physical capital. Putting it differently, physical capital, the law of diminishing returns, while knowledge capital, the law of increasing returns, increasing marginal capital. That's true, actually. That's what sometimes you call synergy effect. Last question today. So Korea, as for Korea, this is a very critical question to you, young girls and boys. Okay, it's very critical question to you is that this one. Korea has hit a wall. Okay, with the first growth formula. First growth formula is the y equal alpha. First growth formula is what? Here. That's a symbol of Korea had hit a wall, relying on this is the LKHN. Now second is that you have to increase this alpha. So think about that. From the given resources, how to increase GDP in Korea? That's a big question. So my answer is this. In Korea, problem is that, okay, so right institutions. Okay, 제도상의 문제점 is that perhaps we rise free trade. This is general theory and fair competition, rules of law, rule of law, not rules of law. This we need this. Korea is very weak in this area. Korea rule of law is very weak. In Korea, do you think everybody is equal before the law? No, that's totally different story. You have heard of innocent with money, guilty without. Comes to your mind, Young-Yun? Do you understand what I'm saying? Innocent with money, guilty without. What do you call that in the Korean language? Yeah, 유전무죄, 무전유죄. Or 정관예우 is the typical example of Korean people not being equal before the law. So that's a big problem. And not free trade. Korea trade is highly regulated by the government. It's not really free. You cannot do anything at all at your discretion because many things you have to get license from the government, things like that. And of course, research and development. Okay. Any questions? Yeah, exactly on time, I guess. So no question. Then I'll see you on Wednesday.